Hello and welcome to Congo Children's Corner. I am Kim and delighted and honored to have my guest that I have tonight. Want to remind everyone that here at Congo Children's Corner, we not only want to promote what youth are doing and let them come and give us all their talents, tell us how they've improved and all the fun things that are going on, but anyone who has information who's going to improve the lifestyle and just improve what's going on with youth in our community, we ask that you come on and share as well. So we are honored to have a wonderful City of Wilmington police officer here, Mr. Faheem. How are you?
I'm
Nick,
fine.
I don't know all your important title. Give us your
No,
police officer name. I don't know that. I just know
well,
you.
I mean, the title is I'm the division commander, which they call a captain
All
of
right.
Sector 1, which is
Hey.
northeast side of the city.
Isn't that wonderful? So
Yes.
again, I just like to just give all the accolades to people like yourself who have stuck with it when some people give up and just stay there for the youth and for the city and the people in the community. You are a name that I hear often, and I always hear great things. That you're there, standing in the corner and just looking out for people, doing the best. And so that's why I asked you here today.
Okay.
Because we need to know in the city how to interact. We know we come in contact with officers. There are a lot of, we're going to hear about some great programs.
Right.
So there are a lot of things going on. What should someone do? What is the role of the police officer? Because I honestly don't know what they're supposed to do. And then how should our youth react to that encounter with an officer?
Well, I think when you look at the traditional role of law enforcement, it says what it is, law enforcement. But when I came on, there were officers more senior than me, and they gave me a diverse look of what law enforcement or policing, community policing. And when people think of community policing, they think of an actual unit, but it's more than a unit, it's an organizational structure. Although there are some departments that have the unit that's specified or be more specific. You're asking me what do we do? Well, what we're challenged to do and what we're sworn to do and what we took an oath to do, and some of us affirm who don't swear on certain entities of religious scripture, that to protect and serve, to enable an individual to increase his or her quality of life.
Okay.
And if they're breaking the law, we do have some discretion within that. But however, if it gets to the point where it's chaos and unrest, then we need to address that.
That's it.
So we're this concept of being this guardian warrior, what we had in Blue Courage training, it's always been there. The reality is that when you interact with the police, it should be professional and it should be respectful.
Okay.
Both sides of the fence.
Okay.
We should be held accountable as well as the community held accountable. The community should be educated on how we do things. Now, you may not ever agree with what we do, especially if you're on the other end of a ticket,
Right.
of a stop, of being described as a particular suspect or individual of interest. So you may feel a certain kind of way. But what I ask you to do is remain calm and listen and then interact with questions. If you're a man, you ask the questions as a man with, dignity and respect. You have a right to know why you're being stopped, why you're being detained. Woman, the same way. If you're a child and you feel maybe a little intimidated, sit, listen to what the officer says, and contact a parent or someone, a guardian, to let them know that you were stopped and you felt uncomfortable, then they can inquire.
Okay. Okay.
And usually what happens is a lot of times people don't understand what we do, what we have the right to do. We do have the right to stop you, meaning if we have reason to stop you, to ask you your name, where you're going, your business abroad, and what are you doing? And to find out if you fit that particular pattern or if you're going to be the individual that we may even go further, where it could lead to prosecution or not. But we do have that right to stop you if we
Okay.
have reason.
Okay.
A lot of people think we just ride down the street, oh, there's a black guy over there, there's cats on, I'm just gonna stop him. Has that happened? It probably has. Am I gonna sit here and try to tell people that it hasn't happened? No, I'm not gonna say it hasn't happened, but I'm saying it isn't right.
Okay.
It isn't legal,
Okay.
okay? And you have a process that you have to follow through. A lot of people say, well, brother, they call me Brother Fine. Well, it doesn't seem like it works. Okay, I understand that. But I can guarantee you that you arguing
Right.
You being combative, you being disruptive in that particular incident with the officer is not going to be a win situation for you.
Exactly.
Because the badge itself is a public trust. And even though it may not always be the individual upright and worthy, most times they are. And they're going to get the benefit of the doubt because it's a public trust. So what I tell people to do is, okay, I'm in this situation. I don't like what's going on. Okay, remain calm. There's a time you were stopped. There's a location you were stopped. There's an officer's name, usually on the right, and the badge number. Okay. And if you ask for those things and they run into resistance, you say, okay, you remember the situation and you go forth and file it from there.
Okay.
If it's called in, they'll have it on record.
Okay.
But the main thing, and I'm gonna leave this, and I know you have other guests, this is what I want to say to people. A lot of people don't understand. Even if the officer comes up to you and his arrest is not valid, meaning that he believes it's valid, but at the time it's not valid, and you resist, you have broken the law.
Okay.
And resisting comes from them saying, hold on, and you stopping off, or get off me, get out of my face, or push it. All those things come up.
Okay.
And you may be absolutely right.
Okay.
But in those things, when you resist, you now subjugate yourself to other possibilities of opening the door for criminal citations or an actual arrest for something that you weren't guilty of that particular incident, but you then stepped into the other realm because you didn't cooperate and leave it through. The main thing is take your time, listen, and you have the right to contest it. We should be held accountable as we hold you.
So now, sometimes we'll find something. So you're telling them if someone, they ask, they're stopped, and they say, okay, well, what's your name? And the officer resists, just stay calm.
Oh, absolutely. Because the thing about it is, we have a policy with directives that when someone asks your name, you're supposed to give your name and your badge number with it.
Okay.
It's a no-brainer.
Okay.
A lot of times they don't give it, and a lot of times you're not going to force anybody to give it to you. Now, what I always tell people is if you run into an officer that's combative, disrespectful, and unruly, I would always say, you know, officer, since the time we interacted, I've never been disrespectful to you. But you want us to communicate and help you. You talk about building relationships. How are we going to build a relationship when you've been disrespectful from the time and I've been cooperative with you? Now, I'm going to give you your information, but I think you should look at those things. A man and woman can say that. A child may not say that.
Right.
And I understand that. But a man and woman should be man enough and woman enough to speak in a calm, intelligent, and dignified manner and get your point across.
Okay.
Because you shouldn't fear us and we shouldn't fear you.
Right.
Now, it depends what I'm going into. We always go into something. You know who we are when we're dressed,
That's
the lights
it.
and sirens.
That's it.
We may not know who you are. That's why we approach car stops in a certain way. That's why we have a protocol of safety that we go through. But once it goes from here, the level of threat goes down to here, then it should be interaction and personal.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying to you. You cannot legislate what's coming out my mouth, nor can I do you. The difference is that I have the authority and power to take what? Your freedom,
Right.
and in certain situations, use deadly force. And as we see around the country, it has escalated to the point where if I feel that I'm in a threat of danger, then I'm elevated to use that. So how do we de-escalate? How do we communicate and keep everybody safe and not be judged upon the actions of others, but just the ones that you interact with?
That's it.
So you'd have to remain calm. Do the things that you know. Is it absolute? Is it guaranteed? No, only God is absolute and anything's
it.
guaranteed.
That's it.
So, but if you do the things, remaining calm, not moving suddenly, remain there, listening to what the officer has to say, okay, got the commands, then he can't say that, there was a threat level.
Right.
So that's why you find in certain instances where they're able to articulate.
Okay.
Who can tell your story better than you?
That's it.
That's what it is.
That's it. That's it. All right. So, and I appreciate you coming out because it really is important that the community understands how to behave, how to make it so that the system does work for you, so that you don't escalate a situation that may have been something easy and innocent, that you can take it through.
But I want to say this. I don't want the community to understand is that there are individuals who may not like you
Right.
and have power.
Right.
So you must remain calm and concern so you keep your safety in.
That's it.
That's in all walks of life.
All
I'm not
walks
trying
of
to
life.
paint a picture that every officer loves the community and loves you.
Right.
Just like everybody in the community doesn't love every officer that comes in there.
That's it.
It's a dual action, but what I'm saying to you, under these circumstances, understand the system. We need to be more educated about the Constitution.
Okay.
We need to understand the preamble.
That's
We
it.
need to understand these amendments, especially the 13th Amendment.
Okay.
So we need to understand why some of these things have caused our demise and our frustration. However, how are we going to deal with this frustration?
Okay.
And how are we going to make sure that this frustration doesn't cause into a causation of violence and blasting and being an atomic bomb within our communities and for our nation?
Yeah.
We have to have dialogue. We're going to have to ask those hard questions. We're going to have to say things. No, that's not right. We're going to have to hold people accountable and put people on the spot. So,
And we must stay calm in order
Yeah.
to do those things. In order
Absolutely.
to have our character not questioned, in that we do have to practice just remaining calm,
exactly.
and it will work out. Well, it won't escalate. Sometimes even through everything, we don't always get the outcome that we want.
Right.
However, we can keep something from maybe not escalating to a certain level.
Absolutely.
And that's our goal. So that's what I really want every person who can hear this, any youth that is there who stops, to know that they have the right to contact their parent or have their parent contacted.
Oh yeah, I mean, you always can contact your parent. You may not at that time because you're asking questions, but when you're done the actual interaction, by all means, if you're a representative and an advocate for a child, then absolutely, because you can ask the questions. Okay, what was the situation? Why was he stopped? You know, maybe some things that I can educate my child on doing, or the neighbor's child to do differently.
Right.
But again, I'm not saying that certain individuals may look at certain children or certain neighborhoods and take advantage of that. That's why we're in this situation now. We're talking
Right.
about the same things that happened 50, 60 years ago.
Exactly.
So that exists. Now we know it exists. Let's bring it to the table. Stop everybody being silent, act like closing their eyes, holding their ears, and closing their mouth, that it doesn't exist. Oh, it exists.
It exists.
And we need to speak about it,
And
respectfully,
right.
intelligently, but then we have to hold people accountable.
That's it.
I just want to leave with one thing. There was
Yes.
an incident today where an individual wanted to commit suicide.
Oh.
And one of the officers of the commanders, it was Lieutenant Seligman and Master Sergeant Saunders in that area. The individual had the opportunity to where he wanted the police officers to do something to him and cause that. And what I'm saying this, I say this just for this point, is that the officers showed immediate and strong self-restraint.
Okay.
They talked to the individual, even tried to get the individual to engage with them to alleviate and drop the weapon. Unfortunately, he didn't.
Oh,
But we didn't go into where it was a police-involved shooting.
Okay.
There was a shooting, but it wasn't police involved.
Okay.
And rendered aid and tried to do these things. These are the stories that most people don't hear about.
That's it.
The only ones they hear about is the ones where they think that we're always out to get someone or some community.
Right.
And I'm an advocate of both. I hold us accountable and also hold the community accountable. There are things in the community that we need to change. And we need to stop brushing it under the rug
That's
and
it.
putting our head in the sand
That's
and
it.
stop acting like that. And we need to stop acting on things that are irrelevant. When you know there's no relevancy or no actual decency or any command to or any type of credence to it,
Right.
no.
That's
But if it is, yes.
Act-
And in this instance, I want to commend Deep Platoon, the commanders there, and all those individuals that responded, because they had self-restraint in the neighborhood that most people think they don't want. It was on the northeast side of my sector.
Okay.
When people say, oh, they don't care about people, but it's not all officers, and we do.
Right.
And the individual was not African American, but he was a law enforcement officer sworn to do to protect and serve, and that's what he did.
All
But the young lady was, and other officers that there weren't.
Okay.
And that's what we need to do, that we all have to be in this together and take that.
I appreciate that. And again, so that's my purpose in having you here, so that we can develop a better develop a better relationship with law enforcement, with understanding our rights. And we're going to have our next guest, Ms. Donna, who's going to tell us about a new program that will enhance what's going on and help our youth to better understand. And I think, I hate to say it all the time, but I think our youth really have to get it and understand, because some of our adults may be a little too far gone, and we need the youth to understand how to behave, what they can do, so that we can stop escalating situations that might be able to just stay there. So you don't have to, even in front of your friends, because some people think, I gotta play this role. No, you don't. The role you have to play is one of restraint, one of respect, one that keeps your character intact.
And I think we all been young, and we know about peer pressure. And I always tell people that you can have your swagger, you can have your uniqueness, your coolness, whatever you want to call it. But it doesn't necessarily mean by being defined by something else.
Right.
We need to define ourselves, and not everything that's negative.
That's it.
We need to define ourselves in the mark of history and our contribution to civilization.
Yes.
Prior to America.
That's it.
When it was BC, not AD.
That's it.
And I think that they need to know that they have a stand. They have a stake
Right.
in this world civilization. And once they understand and accept it, they'll do a lot better.
All right. All right. We will be right back with more information.